Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon to the lecturers, Dr. Chu, and also to my fellow friends. So today, my group would like to present our group project Interim Progress, and we go to introduce our team members first. So this is Muhammad Hakimuddin, Muhammad Zawawi, Adam Airil, it's me, and also Fakrah Hazwan. Okay, so the topic that will be covered in this presentation is data exploration, data preprocessing results, learning algorithm codes, and also the initial conclusion. Okay, so without further ado, we would like to invite Hakimuddin to present the data exploration first.
Okay, thank you Adam for the briefing of the introductions. We will move on to the data explorations, and for this fuzzy inference, we choose the data-driven methods, and we will use the car engine.csv datasets that are got from the Kaggle, which under the name of car engine health datasets. Okay, this is the dataset provided in this Kaggle. As we can see, there is 7 row for these datasets, and in which the last will be the output of the dataset, which will be the engine condition. Okay, so there is 6 reasons to define the engine condition here. Okay, first will be the engine RPM. So engine RPM, the normal engine RPM is from C100s to 1000s. If it is below C100s, it means that the RPM is too low, that may cause the engine failure. If it is too high, if it is high, it sometimes can be represented as can cause or not, because there is some car that can provided higher engines RPM, but there is certain sensors that providers cannot cause the engine failure. Okay, next we have the loop oil pressure. Okay, loop oil pressure we will divide it into 3 parts, which is low, medium, and high. If the loop oil pressure is too low or too high, it will cause the engine failure, as it will break down the engines in the insides. Next, we have the full pressure. Okay, the full pressure we can also classify it into 3 types, which will be the low, medium, and high. As it is low and high, the full pressure can cause the fuel cannot enter these engines and can cause the engines does not have provided oil to runnings. Therefore, they will cause the engine failure. Next, we have the coolant pressure. Okay, for the coolant pressure, we will also divide this into 3 parts, which will be the low, medium, and high. Okay, the cost for the engine conditions to breakdowns is if it is the low coolant pressure and high coolant pressure. It is because if the coolant pressure is low, this means that the engines cannot be cooled down, and it will cause the engine to heat it up as to increase this coolant temperature. And if it is the coolant is too high, it's maybe the instead of we need to coolant this air, there will be some other problems that can cause the engine condition to break down. Next, we have the loop oil temperature. As we can see, if it is the loop oil temperature is too high, weak or high, we also classify it into 3 parts, which is low, medium, and high. If the loop oil temperature is high, it means that this engine is heating up and it maybe cause the engine to break down. But if this is mediums, it means the engine can still running. But if it is low, sometimes it will cause the engine's failure, as maybe the engine will freeze up or cannot be turned on. Next, we have the coolant temperature. Same as the loop oil temperature. If the temperature of coolant is low or high, that may cause the engine condition to break down. If the coolant temperature is high, it means the engines can heat up and can bring a broke down to the engines. And if it is the too low, the engine will freeze up and cannot be used. Okay, next we move on to the Hazwan on the data pre-processing result.
Next, for data pre-processing, we need to perform data cleaning to handle missing values and remove duplicates. Additionally, Data transformation is necessary to modify the car engine data and make it suitable for our project. It is important to note that we have already removed duplicate and incomplete data. As we can see here, we will round out the values for lap oil pressure, fuel pressure and coolant pressure to 3 decimal places. And for lap oil temperature and coolant temperature, we will round the values to their absolute numbers. Next, Zawawi will proceed with learning algorithm codes.
Okay, thank you Hazwan for the explanation about the data preprocessed result. Okay, next I will explain about learning algorithm code. Okay, for this project we will use clustering method. Specifically, we will use FCN, which is fuzzy C-means method, and we will using MATLAB to execute the code. Okay, first we will load the data, and then we will create array to store data for each column in the preprocessed data. And then the third one, we will set clustering number based on the number of column in the data. And then we will start clustering, and then we will plot the clustering design. Okay, next we will see more on MATLAB website. Okay, here are the syntax of the FCM method that we will use. So here is the load data which will be used, but here it is a .dat data, and we will use .csv. So in another way, we will modify this code and make it work on CSV data. After that, we will set a number of cluster to this coding, and then we will start clustering using this code. And after that, we will start the plotting of the result. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you to Zawawi for the explanation on the algorithm that we will use in this project. So I will go to the initial conclusion. Okay, so the project is called car engine breakdown detection, where in this project we will detect the engine breakdown. So it will be the precaution step for the driver or the car owner to detect if there any engine breakdown occur inside the car engine. Okay, so as we said before, we use a real data set consisting of 6 attributes, consisting the lubricant oil pressure, fuel pressure, temperature, and so on. In this data set, it is a supervised learning because the output value is given, which is the engine condition, either 0 or 1. 1 for the good engine condition and 0 is for bad engine condition. And as Hazwan said before, we have cleaned the data set where we clean the decimal point of the numbers inside every cells from many decimal points to at most 3 decimal points only. Okay, and the last one, Zawawi has said that we use fuzzy clustering method algorithm FCM that we have learned in the class. So for the next progress, we will use MATLAB to process the data from the data that Hakim said before, and we will test it, either it really does work or not. Okay, so that's all from our group. Thank you.